and 6 of the Otoba-Misawa Métis government here in Calgary. So I always like to start off with an acknowledgement there. So today we'll have about an hour. So it goes from 12 to 1 p.m. We'll have a presentation from DeAndre Wilson, who is the Executive Director of TalentED YYC. And after DeAndre's presentation, we'll have a round of Q&A. If you could put your questions in the chat box, we have Janice here from EDA who is going to be moderating those questions, and I'll read them out to everyone, and then DeAndre can answer. You can also, once DeAndre's finished the presentation, just take yourself off mute and ask the question to the group as well, and then we'll make sure to get you out of here by 1 o'clock. With that, potentially I'll hand it over to DeAndre and to share her presentation with us.
Thanks so much, Kate. And thanks everyone for joining in. I'm looking forward to chatting with you all a little bit about work integrated learning. I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a second here. All right, so as Kate mentioned, I lead TalentED YYC, and we're really focused on helping you navigate student engagement. So a little bit about me. I'm the Executive Director of Work Integrated Learning at Calgary Economic Development, or CED. I lead the TalentED YYC initiative, as I mentioned. I also sit as the Executive Board member for Brainstem Alliance, as well as Learning City Collective. I'm a licensed professional engineer and project management professional, and a PhD candidate focusing on the alignment of post-secondary education to career pathways. And I'm also a wife and mother of 3 little kids. So I wanted to start us off with a little bit of a video. So this has a little bit of background on work integrated learning and TalentED YYC. So hopefully it works properly.
Say you're an employer and you want to find some student talent. And yeah, of course you do. Students are eager to learn. They bring fresh perspectives and boundless energy. But finding the right student can be difficult. Not only that, but how do you even go about setting up a work placement, a practicum, an internship? How does that even work? That's where TalentED YYC comes in. TalentED YYC is here to help you connect with students from Calgary's leading post-secondary institutions. We'll work with you to design the perfect opportunity, help you find funding, and connect with students across all 7 post-secondary institutions in Calgary, all through one post. Get started today at TalentEDYYC.com.
Right. Oh, and now it's gone back to the beginning. 1 second here. So the video gave a little bit of an overview of what we've done so far. And as it mentioned, we are a collaboration with 7 post-secondary institutions in Calgary, including the Alberta University of the Arts, Ambrose University, Bow Valley College, Mount Royal University, Southern Alberta Institute of Technology, or SAIT, St. Mary's University, and the University of Calgary. We're also partnered with the Calgary Chamber of Commerce and the Calgary Chamber of Voluntary Organizations. And this whole initiative is being championed by Calgary Economic Development, as I mentioned before. Currently, the project is a pilot. It runs until March 2025. And this pilot has been funded by a number of different funders, including the Government of Alberta, the Business and Higher Education Roundtable, Prairie's Economic Development Canada, as well as the Future Skills Centre. So the initiative has a number of different stakeholders and interest holders as a part of it, and the structure includes a number of different groups. So we have our secretariat team, or the Calgary Will Secretariat, which is really my team, the TalentED YYC team that sits within CED. And within our team, we have some of our staff members really focused on employer engagement, working closely one-to-one with employers, marketing communication, so raising awareness of work integrated learning, community and practice development, so really focused on working closely with our post-secondary institutions and building community and capacity with them, as well as strategy and evaluation, as well as data and technology. We also have our executive advisory group, which is made up of executive level folks at all of our partner organizations. So that typically includes vice president or vice provost at the post-secondary institutions, as well as vice presidents from the Calgary Chamber, CCVO, as well as CED. We have our community of practice, which is made up of our post-secondary partners and the WIL practitioners at those different post-secondary institutions, as well as representatives from the chambers who join in that community of practice to provide the employer voice. And then because we're in a pilot, we do also have our third-party evaluator that has been working closely with us to evaluate the pilot as we've kicked it off starting in 2022, and as I mentioned, going until 2025. And Higher Education Strategy Associates has been our third-party evaluator throughout this pilot. So when we kind of started off with this pilot, we did work with a third-party market research firm, Stone Elephant, to understand some of the industry needs as it relates to WIL. And some of the things that we learned was only about half of business leaders in Calgary have familiarity with WIL, so not very many. Business leaders, about 41% of them also report that their business is operating at over max capacity. And we are really looking to understand a lot more about the small and medium businesses. And 41% of them were saying that they're operating at max capacity. We asked them about what their barriers were to engage in WIL. And the top two barriers were they just don't know, they don't have any information on it, and also a lack of funding and resources. For those that do know something about WIL, they typically go to the post-secondary institutions to try to get some information. But a lot of the times when they're working with the post-secondary institutions, the information is not from their perspective or aligned to their business needs. Of the ones that have engaged in WIL, though, 83% of them had said that WIL does make valuable contributions to their business. And it was really emphasized in the research that we had done near the beginning of this pilot that one place to find relevant information for employers would be really ideal. So what we've done throughout this pilot to address those industry needs is a few different things. First, we really focused on supporting business capacity. A lot of businesses said they're operating over capacity, so we really want to focus on how we can support businesses to address that. So one thing that we do is that within our employer engagement team, we work one-to-one with businesses to really understand, okay, what are your business needs and where could students actually help to support that and alleviate some of the capacity issues that you're having. So we work closely with them to tailor job postings and help them post through our portal to do that. We also heard that a lot of folks just don't know what WIL is. So we've done a lot of work to really raise awareness of what work integrated learning is and the different types of work integrated learning. We work really closely with our post-secondary partners to develop out a catalog of work integrated learning opportunities across the city of Calgary. And then we also facilitate different workshops to help employers understand the different forms of work integrated learning and then the also different programs that they can connect in with. We heard that from businesses, when they work directly with post-secondary institutions, sometimes the resources that they get aren't really aligned to their needs. So we work closely with our post-secondary partners as well as with other external partners to build out a resource bank that's aligned to the needs of business. We've also worked really closely with a lot of the wage subsidy providers, both across the province as well as across Canada, to catalog all of the different opportunities that businesses can engage with to get wage subsidies for students. We've really been focused on partnership. As I mentioned, TalentED YYC is a collaboration of 10 different partners. And in addition to that, we've been working closely with a number of different organizations to help align resources as well as to help bring together those funding opportunities. So a big part of what we've been doing is bringing together different partners so that we can scale and amplify the impact. And then lastly, we really did hear that, having one place to go for employers to understand and learn more about WIL was really important. So we've really tried to facilitate that one-stop shop. Employers can come to our team to get information that they need. We can help direct them to the right post-secondary partner that addresses their business needs and has the programs that align to their business operations, as well as also work with them to understand which wage subsidy programs they would be most eligible for and connect them in. We've also been working with technology partners to build out a central portal that allows employers to post just once within our portal, and it gets sent out to all of the job boards at our post-secondary partners. So this is one example of supporting business capacity that's kind of close to home that we wanted to highlight. So Anita is the founder of Catch Communications, which is a digital agency. And she was looking for additional capacity within her organization to support her clients in digital communications and graphic design. Working with one of our PSI partners, Bow Valley College, they were just starting up a new apprenticeship-style learning program that was focused in digital design, and they were actually looking for more employers to take on students within that program. So TalentED YYC was actually able to support the connection between Catch Communications and Bow Valley College, and Catch was able to hire Linda, who you'll see with the lighter hair in that picture, and they hired her as a digital design apprentice as a part of their program. Around the same time, our team was actually also looking for support for our UX for our website and graphic design, and we were looking for an agency to help us with that. So actually, because they were able to get that increased capacity by hiring Linda, Catch Communications actually took us on as a client, and we've been able to work with both Anita and Linda to help us with some of our work. So it was kind of a full circle moment for all of these partners involved, Catch Communications, Bow Valley College, as well as TalentED YYC. So this is a really cool story that we wanted to highlight, and this is just one of the many stories that we've been able to help small businesses increase their capacity. So I wanted to share one more video that is a testimonial from
TalentED YYC helped us to expedite the recruitment process, access funding opportunities, and recruitment advisory support. The quality of talent is amazing.
Oh, I started it back. 1 second. And so that was a mini testimonial from Anita, who we've been able to work with, and she's been a really great partner. And we have a few other testimonials on our website from some of the employers that we've been able to work with, and we've shared them also on our LinkedIn channel. And so really to date, since we've launched our central portal and stood up our secretariat, which was in February 2023, we've been able to support a number of different businesses. So far through this pilot, we've actually helped to generate over 2,000 work integrated learning opportunities across the city of Calgary. We've been able to support over 1,000 employers, whether that's through our workshops, through one-to-one engagements, through connecting with us at our booths, providing them with resources. So we've been able to support quite a number of employers across the Calgary region so far during just the pilot phase. Of those 1,000, we've been able to help over 200 of them actually provide opportunities for students. We've learned for small businesses that it does take time to help them build up that capacity. But as we've been able to continue to support over those 1,000 employers, we've been able to convert over 200 of them into providing opportunities for students. Of the 2,000 opportunities that we've generated, just about 900 of them have been specifically targeting equity deserving groups. We're really trying to make sure that all different types of students can be engaged in work integrated learning. And so we've been able to also raise awareness within the employers on the importance of supporting students from equity deserving groups and the value that that brings to their organizations as well. We talked about our community of practice, and so far we've been able to engage 72 local will practitioners through our community of practice workshops, through our different events. Earlier this year, we hosted a talent and funding fair where we were able to bring in will practitioners as well as funding delivery partners to engage with employers in a fair style, almost a reverse career fair style event. And so far, we've had 72 will practitioners just in the Calgary area collaborating. And through our marketing communications teams, we've been able to have more than 5 million marketing and advertising impressions through a number of different channels, including LinkedIn advertising and marketing, Google ads, podcast ads, as well as a number of different channels that we've been raising awareness to employers through. So what's next? As I mentioned, we are in a pilot, which is ending in March 2025. And just because of the success that we've seen so far in the pilot, and as also the interest that we've heard from folks, we are looking to continue and expand into a phase 2. So what does that look like? We're really looking at how can we take what we've learned in just the Calgary region and support across the province. And so our vision is really to make it easy for Alberta employers to offer meaningful work integrated learning experiences for Alberta post-secondary students. So how can we really connect employers all across the province with post-secondary students all across the province? So some of our goals for phase 2 is first to implement a sustainable model to scale community capacity for work integrated learning across Alberta. 2, to become a source of Alberta work integrated learning information and data that can aid in talent development and economic growth. And 3, to become that bridge between employers and PSIs for work integrated learning in Alberta. So as we move into phase 2, we really want to expand on the services that we're providing to employers. And so really we'll be continuing to offer that one-to-one expert advice on creating a student position or a work integrated learning opportunity. Continuing to work really closely with the funding delivery partners. And right now we have 26 funding delivery partners that we've been working with and connecting employers to those funders so that they can get grants or wage subsidies to hire student talent. Building out and refining our catalog of work integrated learning programs. So we've started that, as I mentioned, just for the Calgary area, but to be able to expand that to have a catalog of all of the different programs that have work integrated learning as a part of them across Alberta, and so that it's all in one place and really easy for employers. We also want to be able to expand out the central job portal that we've started so that we can connect in with more post-secondary institutions and just really make it easy for employers to be able to connect with multiple post-secondary institutions with just one post. And lastly, building out with our partnerships, different resources that will support employers with postings, interviewing, onboarding, as well as evaluation of student talent. So our high-level proposed timeline for the next phase. So right now we are working really closely to build out our application for funding for phase 2. We're in conversations right now with the Ministry of Advanced Ed and hoping to get a proposal into them in early September, and also hoping to look for other funding partners for our phase 2 expansion. As we move into 2025, we'll be finishing up the pilot in March, as I mentioned, and then begin expanding for phase 2. And then we're hoping to work over the next 5 years aligned with the Alberta 2030 goals that the government of Alberta has to enable every undergraduate student in Alberta to have access to a work integrated learning opportunity. So really working over 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029 to expand to different service areas and to get more post-secondary institutions on board. And that's really where I see a lot of the folks here on the call potentially being a part of. We're really looking forward to potentially collaborating with other economic development offers to understand when does it make sense to expand to your area and work alongside you so that we can help support the employers in your region, help to raise awareness of work integrated learning, provide workshops for them, help connect them into post-secondary institutions. And so we're really looking forward to hopefully partnering with many of you to expand to those different areas and provide this service all across the province. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you all for listening, and I will stop sharing my screen now so that we can have some questions and discussions.
Fantastic. Awesome, DeAndre. Thank you so much for the presentation. Every time I see it, I learn something new. That's really awesome. Yeah, I'll open the floor now to anyone online who has questions. I didn't see any come in the chat while we were listening to your presentation, but yeah, anyone feel free to jump off mute if you have any questions.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Jordan.
I was just going to share some stuff this will hopefully be helpful for everybody. So, you know, in our region, so I'm Jordan with the County of Grand Prairie, working with the City of Grand Prairie, MD of Greenview, our local chamber, and post-secondary institution, Northwestern Polytechnic. We formed Work Northwest Alberta. And so we're actually in the process of implementing work integrated learning, a work integrated solution with our Northwestern Polytechnic. So, and I've been bugging DeAndre a whole bunch over the last few months about how that all sort of came together. So what we're really hoping, because our program is essentially launching in September. So we're going to be promoting the heck out of it, getting lots of employers on that system, and really sort of building it out from there. And then, we've sort of had conversations about what this next phase could look like. So we're sort of hoping that maybe because we're sort of a little bit further down the line, maybe than some of the other communities, we might sort of be like that pilot for how we connect disparate regions together. So we're definitely going to be supporting the application for funding, and then hopefully we can get this up running, because for us, the gap that we have right now is which I think we really need, as DeAndre sort of mentioned earlier, having that one-on-one support to individual employers. And so our goal is to get a full-time work integrated learning specialist as part of Work Northwest Alberta to sort of handle that interconnectivity, because each of us, the economic development officers from our separate communities, I mean, we're all there to support our employers individually, but we really want sort of like a central person who can handle that aspect of it. So that's just sort of where we're at, and that'll be launching fairly soon. And then we hope we can take it to the next level by connecting in with TalentED YYC.
Thanks a lot for that perspective, Jordan. And yes, we're really hopeful that we'll be able to partner into the next phase and hopefully get that person out in Grand Prairie to support with that one-to-one support out there. I do think that if we move into phase 2, that will be the first area, one of the first areas for sure that we'll try to align with. Any other questions, comments?
Oh, sorry.
Wait.
I guess I should probably, just before that, I should also mention we're using the exact same software and everything too that you guys are, so it is very connectable. So I just want to make.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. Bree.
That sparked another question for me. What software are you using? But then my second question is just what's been the broader response from the educational institutions across the province? Are they feeling that they had people working in those spaces already and they, want to partner up with you? Or are you feeling like they're all on board, ready to rock with it?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Bree. I guess, okay, first question on the software. So we've been working with Magnet as our sort of central platform, and that also connects in with Orbis Communications. And so they have a tool called Outcome Campus Connect. And so a number of our post-secondary partners are already using Orbis Communications. And so if they already have that system at their institution, it can connect directly into their job boards. We are also working to make sure that it also integrates with Simplicity. Orbis and Simplicity recently merged. So the platform will be able to connect with Simplicity, which is another tool that a number of post-secondaries are already using. And then we've also had some conversations with Ripen as well. And so we've trialed out some integrations for our portal with Ripen, which is another tool that's typically used for project-based work integrated learning. And some of the institutions that we've had conversations are also using Ripen. So we're really hoping that the portal will be able to seamlessly integrate with if the post-secondaries are using any of those 3 systems. Is your question related to that, Jordan, or should I answer Bree's second question?
Sorry, it was related to that because Northwestern Polytechnic was implementing Simplicity at the time. So the Simplicity platform for them is 100% branded Northwestern Polytechnic, while the Campus Connect platform aspect of it that connects to the broader thing, that's going to be branded Work Northwest Alberta. So the 2 things are interconnected that way. So that was just an example of how those systems are integrating, and they're so far so good, but we haven't launched yet. So we'll find out where the problems are pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, actually, that's really good context, Jordan. So very similar with what we've been doing with TalentED YYC. So like the Magnet Outcome Campus Connect part of our portal is branded TalentED YYC, but for each of the institutions, they have their own brand on their Orbis platform. So Calgary, their Orbis platform is called Elevate. State, as an example, their Orbis platform is called My Career Hub, but our TalentED YYC portal connects directly into Elevate and My Career Hub as an example to show up on their job boards. To your second question, Bree, and I see Tang's on the call, maybe I'll let her jump in really briefly because she's been working with our team to lead a lot of the consultations with our post-secondary partners, but we've been having conversations with a number of different post-secondaries across the province to get their insights on how much they're interested in this and how they might want to engage. And broadly, there's definitely been a lot of interest. A lot of them don't have the capacity to do as much as we're able to, especially on the employer focused side. A lot of them are really focused on internally building out their WIL programs, but don't have the capacity to go out and educate employers on their WIL programs. So they really see a strong synergy there with us being more of that employer facing side, educating the employers while they're really focused on their internal processes and building out. And we've also seen a lot of interest from the post-secondaries, even for that information sharing, since we're going to be doing a lot of the one-to-ones with the employers, for us to share back, okay, what are the employers saying are their barriers, or what are the employers saying are their needs, so that as they're designing their WIL programs, they can potentially see how they can adjust to align with what works for employers. So we have seen really good reception there, but to your point, there's going to continue to be a lot of conversations just to make sure that we aren't stepping on each other's toes, but it's really complementary. Tang, I don't know if you had anything else to add to that. I'm kind of throwing you on the spot here.
Sure. I run Tang Choi. I'm the Senior Manager of Strategy Evaluation with the TalentED YYC pilot project on DeAndre's team. Just to echo what DeAndre has mentioned, through our consultations with the post-secondaries, the 7 that we've been partnering with in the Calgary region for the pilot phase, and we also extended it to include the post-secondaries from across Alberta, as well as part of our consultations, which include info sessions, a survey that went out, and also the opportunity for one-to-one discussions with our community and practice development team. And what we started seeing from the feedback was that there was that need for support or interest for support in generating those opportunities with employers. As DeAndre mentioned, there's often that capacity challenge that post-secondaries face, and even getting employers up to speed with what work integrated learning is a huge lift in terms of helping with the workload for post-secondaries. And other elements that have come up is really just clarifying what the roles are between what TalentED is doing versus what the post-secondaries are doing, and what we expect employers to do as well. And I would probably say the other areas I might mention too is that with the various post-secondaries, what's come through loud and clear is that they do each have very unique needs. We see that based on different sizes of the institution too, from the large ones to the small ones, and some of the feedback we've been getting is that support for rural destinations or locations, and then also some of the nuances that come with that, and where we've been thinking about that as we prepare for phase 2, especially when it comes to that support of possibly having remote workers, so that it's more tailored to that region, and having that understanding of that region as well and its needs from an employer perspective, and then also thinking of it from a tech perspective as well, because we realize that will vary depending on the size of the institution.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
Thanks for the question, Bree. Anyone else have a question? I have a question for the two of you, even though I work at Calgary Economic Development. My question is, what sectors do you see students and employers most using TalentED YYC and their work integrated learning programs and platforms?
That's a good question. So, the work that we have been doing has been sector agnostic. So we are supporting all sectors. And so we've really just been generally supporting small and medium businesses. So we have seen, a number of small to medium businesses in the energy space taking advantage, digital technology, leaning in, the creative industries. I mentioned Catch and like digital communication, digital design. We've seen businesses in those industries as well participating, but we really are sector agnostic. So we've seen folks from all sectors. I will say so far during the pilot, in terms of students from the programs that we've seen most uptake from, we definitely have seen a lot of interest from employers across all industries engaging with business students, we've seen that as being one of the programs where there's a lot of interest from a number of different industries because those skills can potentially be applied. Tech students, again, in a number of different industries, even in nonprofits as well. We're seeing that as well. Those are the main two I think that we've seen, but we've also seen employers engaging students from across various different programs too. And that's one thing that we've been working alongside our post-secondary partners as well to try and raise awareness of some of the different programs that, these skills could be transferable to support. So if you're needing support with different types of communications, maybe there are different students in the Faculty of Arts programs as an example that folks can engage with. We've been working closely with our different partners on some of the new programs that they're standing up. I mentioned Bow Valley and their apprenticeship style learning. So we do see quite a broad range, and kind of to piggyback off Tang's point, every post-secondary is unique. So there's a lot of different programs for employers to choose from, which is also kind of cool. And so a part of our work that we've been doing to catalog WIL has also been about raising awareness of all of the different types of programs. I see Megan went and took herself put her camera on, so maybe she wants to jump in here. Megan is our manager of employer engagement, so she works most closely with our employers, so maybe she has some additional insights that she wants to share.
Thanks, DeAndre. Yeah, I think the other sector that we've seen a lot of interest on the industry side is hospitality. Hospitality and tourism were hit really, really hard during the pandemic, and so there's a lot of recovery happening there, and so that's another area that we're seeing interest in. But otherwise, we're I think the types of businesses, because of that sector agnostic piece that we're really helping, are those ones that are really small, right? Like most of our employers are less than 10 staff, so they require a lot of different supports and help that often the post-secondaries just aren't equipped to be able to provide that level of support. But then also, I think to DeAndre's point too, one of the things that we're doing is kind of helping keep those employers warm and engaged because of that lack of post-secondary capacity, right? So a lot of those employers will say, we're interested, but we're just not ready right now. And so we're able to kind of help support them through their journey for the longer term as well. So I think that those are a couple of the other benefits that we're seeing from the program so far.
Well, thanks, Megan. That was great. And thanks, DeAndre, yeah, for explaining that. Jordan, I see your hand up again.
Yeah, one thing I was really interested in, and we're trying to build into our platform right now, like as we're starting designing it, is trying to improve access to grants for hiring people when they go through this platform. So we sort of saw this as an opportunity where if you're hiring people through these programs, we should try to connect them with as many grant dollars as possible. So I'm just wondering how well that's going for you guys, because that's one of our core metrics as part of Work Northwest Alberta. We're trying to support 200 employers, hire 400 people by the end of next year. But we're also going to track grant dollars, like the amount of dollars that we've been able to leverage on behalf of those employers. So I was just wondering how that sort of worked out for you guys, or where you started seeing that happen.
Yeah, that's a really good one, Jordan. And it's actually been going really well. As I mentioned in my presentation, we have been connected with over 20 different funding delivery partners. And so we work really closely with them. We actually just had another session kind of similar to this with them a couple of weeks ago, just chatting about phase 2, and everyone's really excited to continue to partner. And we have had so many opportunities where we're cross-referring employers, where we're sending employers to them. And sometimes they're sending employers back to us because they have employers that come to them and say, we think we want to hire a student, but we have no clue what kind of student we want. And they're like, well, that's not really our job. We're just here to give you the money. Go to TalentED YYC and they'll help you figure out, what kind of student is the best fit for you, and then come back to us and we can, give you the money basically. So it's actually been working really well. That being said, in terms of tracking it, we're still working on that. And I know Jose and our team has had a few conversations with you, Jordan, because we're trying to configure our HubSpot so that we can track that into the future, but we haven't been able to quantitatively track yet, how much we've been able to support our employers and leveraging some of that funding just yet. But we're looking to see how we can configure HubSpot so that every time we refer an employer to one of our funding delivery partners, we can track, how much we're helping them get additional grant funds. So work in progress on the tracking side.
Yeah, Bree.
Can you elaborate on how, even with the Canada Alberta Job Grant, depending on what types of students you're doing placements for, just that pause, how has that impacted your program? That's a massive funding source. I'm just not sure if it's one of the main ones you've been using. So just a curious question.
I'm going to pass this to Megan because I don't want to speak out of turn here. I don't believe we've been leveraging that one too much, but Megan, I will pass it to you.
Yeah, the Canada Alberta Job Grant, that pause on funding hasn't really significantly impacted us, because keep in mind that program is really set for employers that have current employees, and it's more towards upskilling than it is towards work integrated learning, right? So work integrated learning really is focused on those current students and getting them relevant experiences for their programming. So it's something that sometimes can be used, but such a small proportion of students that it would apply to. It's really those students that are doing their studies part-time, and accessing that pool of students is really challenging, even for the post-secondaries. They really can't figure out who those students are often. And there's certain post-secondaries, I would say that demographic is much more likely to happen, right? So our polytechnics and colleges, it's much more likely to have those types of student demographic embedded within. So where we're finding more success as a result, like we really leverage those 26 funding partners that we focus on. So there's kind of four main pools. First and foremost, the Student Work Placement Program, or SWIP, as it's often referred to, which is run by the Government of Canada, and there's 17 different providers that are eligible within Alberta. There's the Alberta Will Vouchers programs. So those are provincial funding. And so those are run by industry associations. Each of them have totally different processes and requirements. Then there's also MyTax, which I'm sure most folks are familiar with MyTax funding. And then last but not least, Canada Summer Jobs. So those are kind of the four main pools that we continually reference. Something else that of note, a lot of those SWIP providers, because they're industry associations, they tend to have multiple funding programs. So we've really just focused on one for now, but if we're looking at opportunities for expansion down the road, we are looking at what are those other pools that we don't yet have represented, but we're treating it with a little bit of caution, just because funding is a really complex area. And so we want to try and make this as simple as possible for our employers.
Thank you so much.
This is great. I mean, now that, we have Megan on the call, so I feel another question I have is like, what are the top concerns you're hearing from employers about work integrated learning, and those challenges that they have with work integrated learning?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the ones that DeAndre mentioned, right? I think the biggest challenge is timing. And that's one that's always been something that our post-secondaries are aware of as well, right? They work within an academic cycle and employers don't work in that cycle. So getting that right timing is often a challenge. But one of the things that has been really, really successful for us is, especially with the really small businesses, promotion of capstones has been a huge success for us, because they're a really high impact opportunity for an employer to take advantage of, that doesn't have to have all of the funding in place. You don't have to have all the supervision capacity in place, and that often is a really great entryway into work integrated learning, and just even getting connected with an institution and starting to get connected with students, because often for these employers that maybe never done it before, they get that little taste of like, oh, this was actually super helpful. And I got to meet, this group of students through this, one of which is like, there's 2 or 3 of their superstars. I really want to find a way to continue to work with them. And that gets them a little bit motivated. The other thing too, like around that pipeline. So most businesses, this is like a really important time for my team, because most businesses are in the middle of their strategic planning. And really with those paid opportunities, if you can hit an employer when they're in that strategic planning and try to say, if you just can put aside like between $5,000 and $7,000 for a student, we can help you top it up with some additional funding. that can often, oh, you know, like, yeah, I guess I can find like $5,000 in the budget, right? And so even just getting some of those pieces in place and getting ahead of the ball makes a huge difference for them. So those are some of the capacity concerns that we often run into. It's really the resourcing for the business.
Oh, that's really interesting. I love your mention about capstones, because I think, or at least when I first learned about work integrated learning, is very focused on the traditional work integrated learning opportunities, and then showing businesses that you can like branch out to these different types of experiential learning is a really great opportunity, yeah, for both sides. Awesome. Any other questions from folks? Okay, well, you all have DeAndre's email. The webinar was recorded. I did not mention that off the top, but I will say it now. So if you feel like you want to go back and listen to anything DeAndre presented, feel free. I also added TalentED YYC's website to the chat in case you want to go on their website and learn more. But wanted to really thank you all so much for joining us for this lunchtime webinar with Economic Developers of Alberta. Janice, keep me honest. If I forgot something, let me know, but I really hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Nancy will send out the recording and the presentation sometime next week.
Fantastic. Thanks, Janice. Appreciate you keeping me honest. Awesome. Thank you all so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, everyone.
Everyone.